Let's take it slow. Where you go, I go too. And if you hit the bottom, I'm going down with you. Let's take it slow. Who cares where we gotta be? You know you'll have a good time wherever you're with me. Let's take it slow. Ask me how we got here, 'cause you don't know how. You say we're taking on water, yeah, we're sinking now. You're looking all concerned, like we're gonna drown. But we both know how to swim, no worries, let's float for now. Let's take it slow. Where you go, I go too. And if you hit the bottom, I'm going down with you. Let's take it slow.
What's going on, guys? JSGC here, and we are here for another episode number 9 of the transfer show, rolling throughout the summer transfer window here on YouTube. So if you haven't already, do leave a thumbs up, that would be much appreciated. We are aiming for 200 likes. Don't forget as well to leave your thoughts in the comments below if you're watching this after the stream. If you are tuning in, do feel free to say hello and also get your thoughts in as well. We've got a Lucin in the chat, much appreciated. Thank you for tuning in. Mahmood, thanks for tuning in as well, much appreciated. Says he wants to keep Alvarez, but Alvarez leaving, he reckons £77 million a bit cheap, wants an extra £8 million on top of that, wants £85 million. All good knowledge there. Thank you, Mahmood, for tuning in. We will speak more about Alvarez very soon. Chimobi, thanks for tuning in. Usman wants to keep Alvarez. Thanks for tuning in. Nicola, welcome. Thank you for tuning in as well. Ian, thanks for tuning in. Wanting £85 million at least. McLeod, thanks for tuning in. Much appreciated. Nikosi, thanks for tuning in. Much appreciated. Julia as well. Thank you for tuning in. Much appreciated as well. And Ian saying he wishes that Kimmich, Bruno Guimaraes would be signing for Manchester City to improve our midfield. We've got some holes in our midfield that do need addressing. We will speak all about midfield. We'll speak all about Julian Alvarez. We'll speak about goalkeepers. We'll speak about all the talking points for the last week or so in the transfer window involving Manchester City. Geffin, thanks for tuning in. Much appreciated. Neerajit, thanks for tuning in. Reckons £90 million for Julian Alvarez. Do you know what? Chat, go crazy. Go at it. Alvarez, what would you accept for Julian Alvarez this summer amid interest coming in from Paris Saint-Germain? Also, don't forget, subscribe as well. As you can see, we've smashed 37,000 subscribers now, just 3,000 away from my aim of 40,000 subscribers, so any help towards that will be much appreciated. Remember, rolling out daily Manchester City transfer updates throughout the next month for the summer transfer window, also doing weekly transfer shows as well for you guys to enjoy. Also, don't forget social media links, you can find them in the description. If you want to go and follow me on my Twitter, Instagram and TikTok, email also in the description too, if you want to hit me up for any sponsorship for any videos or any general business inquiries. Now, finally, before I do crack on with the transfer show, I want to say a big thank you to today's video sponsor, which is brought to you by SofaScore. You can go and find the link in the description, also in the live chat, or you can use the QR code on screen as well. You can find it, where is it? Let's see, just there. If you want to go and scan that using your tablet devices or your mobile devices, and that'll take you to the download download page to download the free SofaScore app ahead of the football season. SofaScore are going to be keeping you guys up to date with all the latest football scores, as well as all the latest match information, along with the latest statistics, analysis, and all your good footballing needs. And what I really like about SofaScore is it isn't just limited to football, but you can go and check out all the latest scores and information for all the sports that you guys all love to follow, all in one place, all in one app. Very highly rated, so worthwhile getting if you haven't done so already, and it is a free app as well. So yeah, any downloads using my link in the description or the link in the chat or the QR code on screen does help to support the future content created here on my channel. I've got my promo video, so I will see you guys in 20 seconds for the start of the transfer show. So thank you very much there to SofaScore for sponsoring this video. So before I speak about Julian Alvarez, I'll just do a very, very quick recap of the news that we've had this week. So it's been very quiet on the ins. Bruno Guimaraes' name has been popping around a little bit, but pretty quiet on that. To be expected, still on holiday. Not expecting him back for another week or so, so I think it's going to remain pretty quiet on the incoming front for at least another week in this transfer window before we start to see some rumours filtering through. Of course, we already know that Man City are going to need to sell players for us to replace players in our squad in the transfer window. Pep Guardiola has been hinting during our pre-season matches over the last week that Man City are going to be using more young players. I'm hearing rumours on the grapevine about Joshua Wilson-Esperin replacing Sergio Gomez in the City first team squad. We've, of course, seeing O'Reilly doing very well for Manchester City. He's been spoken about potentially being used in Man City's midfield ahead of the upcoming season and has got big praise from Pep Guardiola, which is fantastic to see. And we're starting to see one or two of the other young players starting to feature a little bit more for Manchester City during pre-season. So City, when it comes to our young players, probably 3 or 4 players, they've got big decisions that need to be made about whether they want to keep them around the first team squad or do they want to loan them out, and if they are going to loan them out, where they're going to loan them to, and also are Man City going to maybe want to sell 1 or 2 of the young players and put in a nice sell-on fee and buyback clause and profit a little bit more, because at the moment Man City's net spend this summer is very good and it's going to be getting even better. Big transfer that we've had this week is Jan Couto. But Borussia Dortmund have now agreed a fee for Jan Couto to sign for them. It's believed it's going to be a season-long loan with an obligation to buy next summer. Apparently, these clauses are very easy to meet for the obligation to be activated. So Jan Couto will become a Borussia Dortmund player in a deal worth around £25 million all in for the whole transfer fee. You've also going to see rumours about Oscar Bob going about. Chelsea apparently interested in signing him, but he's only focused on playing and trying to get more minutes with Manchester City, so I'm not expecting a Cole Palmer situation like we had last summer. And it's always important with players wanting to stay at Manchester City. Kevin De Bruyne going to be staying at Man City. Bernardo Silva going to be staying at Manchester City. This is very good news as far as I'm concerned. So we're just waiting for the final clarification from Ederson for him to remain a Manchester City player this week. We've seen Al Ittihad over in Saudi Arabia pull out of the race to sign Ederson. So he's more than likely going to remain a Manchester City player as well. So it is all about now Man City finding that balance, sorting out the last bits of details on the squad, and then deciding in the next month with the money that they've made in this window, do they want to put that towards net spend? Do they want to put that towards profit? Or do they want to go out there and maybe just dip into the market to bring a player in? I think Man City are having the difficulty because they do like Bruno G. He's just very expensive, and he's probably 20 to 30 million pounds more expensive than what City would be willing to spend. And if we did have gaps in attacking midfield, I think City would probably be in for Dani Olmo, because I don't think it's any secret that City do like him. But Barcelona, they're stepping up their interest to try and sign Dani Olmo. So, I think that's probably done and dusted. So that's the recap that we've had in the last week. Now, the big news that we've had formulating over the last 24 hours is all about Julian Alvarez and this interest coming in from Paris Saint-Germain. And this has been bubbling for the last couple of weeks or so. Situation is, Julian Alvarez, he's gone to the Olympics with Argentina. More talk has been made in the press. I don't know whether it's coming through Julian Alvarez himself or from his entourage, from his agent, for example, trying to push for a move. It was no secret earlier in the window that Atletico Madrid were interested. They couldn't afford him, so they chose not to make a move for Alvarez, and Alvarez was left disappointed. He wants Iberia. He wants a move to Spain. He wants a move to Real Madrid, but they've just signed Kylian Mbappe. They've currently got Rodrigo, Mbappe, Vinicius Jr. There's no room for Julian Alvarez, so he's not going to Real Madrid. Atletico Madrid have settled on contingencies, including the striker that they've brought in from Girona, so they're not going to be signing Alvarez. There's been rumours about clubs from Italy wanting to make a move. They can't afford the price. Bayern Munich have apparently been interested, but they've already got Harry Kane, so that's not going to happen. Premier League clubs are interested in Alvarez. Of course they are. Man City won't sell to another Premier League team, so that's not happening. Alvarez isn't going to push for a move elsewhere around the globe, including returns back to South America or to Saudi Arabia. So it leaves him really one option, and that's that one club that is interested that City probably would sell to, and that is Paris Saint-Germain. They do have money. They do need to replace Kylian Mbappe. They do need a striker, and I can imagine them wanting to build a team around Julian Alvarez. That transfer would make sense. It'd make sense for Alvarez. It'd make sense because he wants to become a striker. He wants to be playing regularly as a striker. It's not going to happen while City have got Erling Haaland here, and it's not. He's going to get more minutes playing as a striker at Paris Saint-Germain than he is at Manchester City. So I can see why Alvarez would want that move. He'd probably get a nice paycheck from Paris Saint-Germain, more than what Man City currently have Alvarez on, as you've got to work your way up the pay scale at Manchester City, unless you are Erling Haaland, of course. But yeah, that's pretty much how it works at Manchester City. So Alvarez has made no secret that he wants to be playing regularly as a striker. He doesn't see it happening at City. And whilst he's happy and settled and likes being at Manchester City, there's one thing that's just itching at him, and that is that he wants to be a striker playing every single game. And at the moment, City can't guarantee that. Not whilst we've got Erling Haaland. And I think City are just trying to play the patient game, keep Alvarez here for another 12 to 24 months, see where we stand with Erling Haaland, and if nothing is moving and Haaland signs a new contract and he's going to be staying at City for the next 3 to 5 years, then I can see Alvarez wanting to move away, and I think that'll be the angle that City are looking for. Until Haaland signs that new contract, please stay at Manchester City is what City will be saying. But if a player wants to leave, a player always has the price tag. Ederson, world-class goalkeeper, has got his price tag, £50+ million. Alvarez, I believe price tag we're looking at is £77 million. Now, I've heard rumours that Man City, if we do sanction the sale, so PSG come to City and they agree a fee to sign Julian Alvarez and he signs for PSG, rumours on the grapevine are saying that Man City are not going to replace him in the squad, which I find really interesting because some of these rumours were stating different things. They were saying City aren't interested in signing another striker, and whilst we've got Erling Haaland, I can believe that to be very believable, but also Manchester City may want to pursue going down another avenue, a player that maybe is, should we have an injury to Erling Haaland, and Erling Haaland isn't, just like Rodri, he's not going to be doing 60+ games for City this season. You need that contingency, you need that option B, and I think Man City at the moment are pretty happy with their squad. Oscar Bob, we've seen him playing there, that could be an option. Kevin De Bruyne, Phil Foden, Jack Grealish, all probably more than capable in doing that false nine role for Manchester City. Not too sure I'd trust having Mateus Nunes playing there, considering how inconsistent he's been for City. I don't think that'd be the risk that I would go for. I think do you know what, with his form that he's in at the moment, I'd probably be tempted to use Oscar Bob more than anybody else. He did that against Newcastle for a few minutes in the Premier League and ended up coming up trumps for Manchester City and grabbing that last-minute winner for City whilst Erling Haaland was injured. So I think that'd be the option. And I think if I was City, I'd be looking for more clarification. Kovacic, what's happening with him? Nunes, what's happening with him? Once we get clarification on them two players, then I'd start to think about what angle do you want to go down? Because if Nunes does end up securing a move to Saudi Arabia, he has been linked with a move to Saudi Arabia, and Julian Alvarez leaves Manchester City, I'd like for us to go out there and sign a player who can properly play in that false nine. Now, one player that really impressed me during the European Championships in playing in that role was Dani Olmo. He's got a release clause. It's not active, but that's the fee that RB Leipzig are looking for, 60 million euros. So we know what we need to pay to sign Dani Olmo. Barcelona are trying their hardest to make that happen. And to me, I think if Alvarez does leave, you need replacements. It's good and well going for all the young players and promoting them. A lot of these young players, in particular in terms of the depth, have no experience whatsoever. And you take a big risk because you pick up a couple of injuries at important parts of the season, and you are asking players who aren't used to playing on a regular basis to be putting in 8 out of 10 performances against the very best opponents in the world. It's a tall order, and it's not something I would expect from the stature that City have found themselves in to be in. Not having a Rodri alternative by September 1st, to me, doesn't sit right with me. It should have been addressed long before right now, and it still hasn't been addressed, and the rumours are we're not going to address it in the summer, and if Rodri picks up an injury because we're taking that angle, I'll be very annoyed about it. Because everything's pointing towards Rodri at some point being overused and picking up some kind of wear and tear injury. And that could be absolutely detrimental to City's season. To let Alvarez go and then have a serious injury to Erling Haaland and not having suitable replacements in place because you've let your suitable replacement leave for big money without replacing him with anybody because you want to take that risk with young players is a big call. A very, very big call. Not something I'd expect Man City to be doing. I would have thought that Man City would be looking at alternatives, even if it doesn't mean going out there and signing an out-and-out striker, going out there and having a player who can take over that role, because City love signing versatile players. We don't necessarily tend to look at one player for one position. We tend to have a player who can do a variety of different roles. Think Phil Foden, think Kevin De Bruyne, think Bernardo Silva, think Jack Grealish. These players can do different things for Man City in different positions. And it'd be the same for Alvarez. Alvarez, City have tried to convert him into a central midfielder, to try and turn him into that false nine, to try and turn him into the second striker. They've tried several different things with Alvarez, and it's just not really worked out. And it's not worked out because his favoured position is doing exactly what Erling Haaland does. Now, Man City looked very good when Haaland had his injury, and Alvarez was playing because that was his natural position. To take away Erling Haaland, if you wanted a player to do something a little bit different for City, because you go out there and sign a goal scorer, you could do that. You could pick up some good goal scorers for 25, 30 million pounds, who'd probably be more than happy to be a part-time, bit-part player at City. It'd be a big honour for some of these really good goal scorers. You could go out there and do that. I just don't think City are going to do that, because you open up difficulties in a season or two's time when ultimately these players aren't getting minutes ahead of Erling Haaland and saying, I want to leave instead. So it's something that Man City seriously have to contemplate. And I think someone like Dani Olmo, I'm not necessarily saying it's going to be Dani Olmo if Alvarez leaves, but I'm just talking players like Dani Olmo is where I'd be looking towards. Players who can play in that false nine, because Dani Olmo can play in central midfield, can play in attacking midfield, can lead the line. There's 3 different roles that Dani Olmo can do for Manchester City. And that to me would appeal to me. But whilst we've got Matheus Nunes here, who is meant to be that player for City, but I don't think he's as good as Dani Olmo, and I certainly don't think Matheus Nunes is a player that suits not having regular playing time. And when given the opportunities, he's just not grabbing it with both hands. And considering he's been at the European Championships with Portugal, he's going to miss all of pre-season with Manchester City, which opens up his own complications, because this would normally be where I'd be looking towards Matheus Nunes to really try and, over these 4 pre-season games that we've had, to try and grab things by the scruff of the neck, but he's not been available for us. And because of that, now he's going to struggle to get into that City first team squad. And if I'm being brutally honest, in the next 12 months, I don't think Matheus Nunes will be a Manchester City player. But rather than sit here and wait for him, for that to happen, Man City, we've currently got Nunes on a long contract worth a lot of money, where we'd be able to regroup a lot of money that we already spent on him to sign him last summer from Wolves, and we could write it off and say it just didn't work out, rather than sitting and waiting, because Man City, to me, are very hesitant in the transfer market, in particular when it comes to selling first-team players. Normally very good at deciding when players need to leave and when they're getting too old and there's just slowly starting to show signs of declining. Bar Ilkay Gundogan, they've pretty much got that spot on. But when it comes to bringing players in and realising actually this isn't working, you can decide to do something about it sooner rather than later. It was crystal clear when Calvin Phillips was decided that he was overweight and returned to City, is when City really should have been actively looking towards selling Calvin Phillips whilst they still could. And now you're in a problem where Calvin Phillips is just going to go down the loan route until either his contract runs out or a club signs him for a cheap fee. And the same will happen for Matheus Nunes as well. He will be more than happy to pick up a big paycheck at Man City whilst not playing too much because he doesn't need to. He ends up just being a squad player that's not really being used. And I'd rather have 15 to 16 very, very, very good football players rather than 13 very good football players and 2 or 3 players who aren't quite of the standard that we're looking for. And City have got to be really brutal about things. If you want to go down this versatile route, that's what you need to do. And to me, I'm just not seeing enough from Matheus Nunes, and I think there's better options in the transfer market. And a brutal sale of Nunes to bring a Dani Olmo in and Erling Haaland picks up an injury could be the difference, in particular if you let Julian Alvarez leave this summer, could be the difference between winning the Premier League and not winning the Premier League. The difference between progressing in the Cup and not progressing in the Cup. The difference between going through in the Champions League and not going through in the Champions League. The margins in football are so fine. The City squad is so stretched thin. It needs quality. It needs addressing. And I just cannot believe we sit here on the 2nd of August and the only bit of business we've done is bringing in a player that we signed back in the winter to come into the first team squad, whilst letting Sergio Gomez leave, happy to let Ederson leave, happy to let Julian Alvarez leave. They were happy to let Kevin De Bruyne leave. It's ultimately taken a family decision to keep him at Man City, whilst Man City coast in the transfer window. That's what City are doing right now. And to me, we're in a position where we can do something about it. Not in January, not next summer, now, because if we don't, and we don't have success come the end of the season, I'm not going to sit there and say, this has gone wrong on the pitch, this, and this. I'd say, well, you build yourself up in the summer transfer window. Last summer, we spent a lot of money and we brought players in to embed them into the squad, and ultimately, come the second half of the season, bar Matheus Nunes, really it started to prosper. But when you've only brought one player in who's a young player who, quite frankly, City were happy to loan out up until a couple of months ago, tells me that this player might not be ready just yet. It may take a season or two for them to embed themselves in the City first team squad, which means you might not see the very best out of Savinho in this next season. And if you're letting players leave and not replacing them, you're taking a very big risk as far as I'm concerned. And let's not forget, this is Pep Guardiola's final season for City. Still not signed on the dotted line, even though he is happy to do so. And so you don't want to waste having the best manager in the world. You want success. You need the squad for success. Liverpool, Arsenal, they're playing catch-up. If we're going to let some of our very best players leave, they need replacing. As far as I'm concerned, they must be replaced because you take a big risk in not doing so. A very big risk. I don't know who's making these decisions at City. I don't know if it's Chicky. I don't know if it's coming from higher up. I don't know if it's Man City being too relaxed about things. What are your guys' thoughts? I mean, I read the comments religiously every single day. I see comments of players that you want in City to target, and City have a look at these players. They're interested in these players, but choose not to make a move for these players. I mean, as Randy's just said, tuning in there. Thanks for tuning in, Randy. Musiala. It's the way forward. He's had an outstanding championship. You know, why sit here and wait? You know, Kevin De Bruyne's contract's up next summer. If we want Musiala to come in and be the like-for-like replacement for Kevin De Bruyne to take over the shackles of Man City's midfield, then he needs to learn from Kevin De Bruyne. Musiala's an excellent player. He's still very young. You want to embed him into the Premier League and embed him into the squad, then utilise him whilst we've still got very good players that he can learn from. This is where City should be looking for clarification from De Bruyne to say, okay, it's great that you want to stay. Here's the contract. Are you going to sign? You either sign right now or we're not going to continue contract talks because we want to think about replacing you in our squad. You've got to be brutal. You've got to be ruthless in the transfer market. You must. Because if you're not, Other teams will catch up. Arsenal have been ruthless over the last couple of summers, and that gap will get smaller and smaller and smaller. And if we don't address the issues that we have in our squad with this stretched thin squad over a long period of the season, then all of a sudden you can see your Arsenals, your Liverpools are playing catch up. Chelsea are adding players. United are doing business. Spurs are doing business. Yet here are Man City not doing any business. They're sitting on what they've got. And when you sit on things with what you've got, historically it suggests normally you get dethroned. And I don't want us to be dethroned. I want us to win the Premier League at the end of the season. I want us to have the best squad in the Premier League. We've got the best manager. Back him. Back the club. Bring the players in that we need to. You need to find the right balance. For me, I think City are going too far in with the young players. It's going to take a full, I'm not even talking a season. I'm probably talking 2 or 3 seasons. If I'm being honest, for these young players, for the likes of Oscar Bob, for O'Reilly, Wilson Esperon, these players that have really started to shine during pre-season, it will take 2 or 3 seasons for these players to get to the level that City are looking for. So you need that balance. You need the high quality young players being produced by the academy. You've got your superstars. You need the balance as well in the squad in the middle. And to me, I just think City are 1 or 2 short in that balance in the middle. And we've made a lot of money this summer, and we're going to continue to make even more money. A sale like Julian Alvarez could really shore up Manchester City's stretched thin squad. So that's the direction that I would be looking for to try and balance out the team. Kyle Walker picks up an injury. You're selling Yan Couto. You've got Rico Lewis, who Man City want to try and utilise in midfield. Well, Kyle Walker picks up a serious injury, or he starts to lose all of his pace. Where's your options? Because clubs will know City are desperate. Right now, City aren't desperate for a right back. You'd probably get a better deal for a right back than what you would, if I'm being honest, with Kyle Walker being injured or Kyle Walker losing all his pace, because clubs will start to add 10, 15 million pounds on top of the transfer. So you've just got to think long term. Kevin De Bruyne is a big concern for me because his contract's up in a year, and if Man City come to replacing Kevin De Bruyne and it comes to signing a world-class central midfielder next summer, the clubs, they're charging 100 to 150 million pounds for your Musialas and your Verts right now. They know that if Man City are desperate and need to replace a Kevin De Bruyne, they'll be adding even more, and they'll be even more expensive. So I think it's just something that City really need to think about, and I think we're getting towards past the interesting part of the window. We're now getting towards it being a really serious part of the window for Manchester City. So I think that's just something that's worthwhile thinking about. If I'm being completely honest. So yeah, do let me know your thoughts, guys. Drift, thanks for tuning in. Says £100 million he'd like to see for Julian Alvarez. Nirajit says Alvarez should transfer to Atletico Madrid because their striker spot is available. I've heard they're set to sign that striker, top goal scorer from La Liga last season from Girona for around 40 million euros, which is much more affordable than Alvarez. So if they sign him, I don't see Atleti dipping in twice for 2 strikers and spending big money on 2 players in this window. I can see them settling with what they've already got. Geffen, thanks for tuning in. Much appreciated. Adrian, thanks for tuning in. Says he reckons Alvarez will leave as an excellent player, but get plenty of game time next season when we're fighting on all 4 fronts, just like he did this season. But ultimately, he wants to be the main man. He wants to be the striker. He wants to be the goal scorer. And whilst Erling Haaland's here, I think he's resigned himself that it isn't going to happen. I don't know if it's agent talk or Alvarez talk or City talk. Maybe all 3. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. Niraj, I do agree. Alvarez is an incredibly underrated striker. He's world class. I'd like to keep him. I think City are better with Alvarez rather than without Alvarez. It's a bit like Ederson. I think it's just so difficult to replace Ederson that right now it just makes more sense to keep Ederson than it does to sell Ederson, unless you pick up a really big high money offer for him that's too good to turn down, that it funds for bringing in a suitable replacement, which for me, outside of Diogo Costa long term, there isn't really that many options for City. And they were talking about City going for the short term rather than long term. I much prefer long term, if I'm being honest, because it allows you to build the spine of the team once more. So there we go. Dom, thanks for tuning in. Says doesn't really care about Alvarez anymore. Can leave if he wants to, as long as it isn't to another Premier League team. Thank you, Dom, for tuning in and giving your thoughts there. Very interesting. Doesn't care about Alvarez, okay. Kartik, thanks for tuning in, much appreciated as well. Ian, shout out to you, thanks for tuning in and interacting with me today. Caden as well says don't really like Núñez, especially with the way that he isn't doing all that much to try and help his chances of improving. There was some talk, I'm sitting on the fence on this. There was some talk about Núñez should end his holiday early to join up with Man City to improve his chances of featuring for City this summer. He hasn't done that. He's continued just to continue with his holiday. He'll return for City. It will take 2 to 3 weeks for him to get up to scratch. That means we're sitting right on the cusp of the next international break. And I wouldn't really be surprised to see Matheus Núñez not get any starts before the middle of September, before Man City return to Champions League action and you're starting to need to rotate your squad a little bit more. So I don't think he's doing himself any favours, but he is also entitled to have his holiday. And if it was me and I was entitled to have my holiday, I'd be having my holiday. And, you know, you're a football player, you earn a lot of money, you want to go out and enjoy yourself. You could maybe try and find a little balance in the position that Matheus Núñez finds himself in the City squad. But here we are. It's all about mentality. And as I said, I can see in the next 12 months, if I'm being honest, Núñez not being a City player, which to me has shown glimpses of being a very good player. It's just very inconsistent. I think he needs a run of games, and it's not going to happen, if I'm being honest, with Man City's midfield and the amount of quality that they've got. Leifa, thanks for tuning in, much appreciated. Foot Tomato, thanks for tuning in. Afternoon Stu, thanks for tuning in, much appreciated. Marius, thanks for tuning in, much appreciated as well. Nam, thanks for tuning in. Stu says, looking forward to the watch-alongs this season. Me too, they'll be returning from the Community Shield for you guys to enjoy. I've been so preoccupied and busy with the transfer stuff that I've not even got round to doing anything of the pre-season. I'm just keeping one eye on pre-season, and once we get to the Community Shield onwards, I'll be continuing with the normal content, your previews, your match reviews, and of course live watch-alongs for you guys to enjoy, and of course daily transfer updates throughout the rest of August as well. Siam, thanks for tuning in. Achraf Hakimi, I don't see City going near Hakimi, but a good shout there for a right back to try and sort that right back situation with Kyle Walker out. Kawemi, thanks for tuning in from Ghana, much appreciated. And Foot Tomato says, if we do look to sell Alvarez, I'd be shocked if we don't push for a Bruno G and maybe even looking towards potentially a right back or a central attacking midfielder. I mean, Dani Olmo's my pick, but I think Barcelona will beat us to the punch. They're pushing really hard to try and make that deal happen. And somehow Barcelona seem to have found some money through collective add-ons and installments that they can fund for a move for Dani Olmo. And we're also hearing rumours this week that João Cancelo, 25 million euros, could become a player for Barcelona as well. So over the next 2 seasons, we could accumulate £25 million for Yan Couto, 25 million euros for João Cancelo. That's nearly £50 million. You're looking at, what, £45 million? And also looking at potentially 75 plus million pounds for Julian Alvarez as well. We could be, if all them sales do go through this summer, could be looking at 150 to 200 million pounds in generated sales by City, with City adding just Savinho for 30 million pounds to the team. It's a profit of 120 to 170 million pounds this summer. And if your squad's stretched thin, it's not an excuse to be making so much money on the net spend and not investing in the squad as well. Caden, thanks for tuning in, much appreciated. And Nas, thanks for tuning in. And Renel as well. So I'm going to go and do my daily transfer update for you guys to enjoy. I will be back again next week for my 10th episode of the transfer show with yours truly, JSGC. So I want to say a big shout out to all you guys for interacting with me today. Thank you to everybody that's left a thumbs up as well. Thank you to everybody that's checked out today's video sponsor, which is brought to you by SofaScore. Remember, free app to download, and they'll keep you up to date with all the latest football scores and sports scores, all in one place, all in one app. Very highly rated, free to download, and it does help to support my channel with anybody that does download the SofaScore app using the link in the description or the link in the chat or the QR code on screen. Also, don't forget as well to leave a thumbs up. 200 likes is the aim. If you're watching this after the stream, then leave your thoughts in the comments below. Whilst I am still live for another minute, do feel free to pop into the chat, give your thoughts and say hello. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new around here. Now less than 3,000 subscribers away from my aim of 40,000 subscribers. And also don't forget as well to go and check out my social media links, which you can find in the description if you want to go and follow me on my Twitter, Instagram and TikTok. Email also in the description too if you want to hit me up for any sponsorships for any videos or any general business inquiries. I'm just going to roll my SofaScore promo video one more time for you guys and we'll end the stream there. Thank you so much, everybody, then, for watching. Much appreciated, and I will see you all later on today for my Manchester City daily transfer update. So I've been JSGC. Thank you, everyone, for watching. I hope everyone is safe and well. Have a great Friday. Have a great weekend. See you soon. I've been JSGC. Peace.